For project 10-2, we are going to use this Contoso salaries worksheet. So click here, and we're going to learn a new function, a new formula. So in cell C35, so scroll down, C35, select that. We are going to go to the Formulas tab and click on this Insert Function button. This helps us, this kind of steps us through a formula and selecting a range and putting some criteria in. If we don't, if I know the formula already, I'll just go straight to typing it in, equals whatever. But if I don't know it very well, I want to step through it. So this is good for that. So click here, and we're going to use the SUMIF formula. So just type it in this big box, SUMIF, and press enter, and then it shows down here. So then double click it, SUMIF. So that's kind of a funny name, but what it is, it's the sum function, but we're only going to sum something if it is part of certain requirements that we state. So an if statement is actually used a lot in programming. That's kind of how we get the computer to do what we want. We say, okay, if this number is greater than 10, we're going to have it do something. If this is on, do this. And so a lot of programming has to do with conditional statements, and so we're going to do a little bit of that here. So we're going to say, okay, first of all, we need to select a range. So we're going to select all the salaries. So click and drag starting C4 and drag down to C33. You could also type that in here. I like to see it and click and drag, but you could just type C4 through C33 if you know that's the range. In the criteria, this is saying, okay, what's the statement? I'm going to sum up these dollar amounts if something happens. So if, and right down here it says salaries greater than 100,000. So that's our criteria. If the salaries are greater than, so that greater than sign is the period key. It's a shift period actually. So shift period, it's got the little symbol above the period. You'll see it on the keyboard above the space bar. If it's greater than 100,000, so 5 zeros, and the sum range is going to be the same as just the range. So let's click OK there. So now what that does is it goes through that range of numbers, and it says if the salaries are over 100,000, I'm going to add them up. So this one would add up, this one would add up, this one, this one, this one, all those that are above 100,000, and we get that total there. So it's a conditional statement. It only added them up if our criteria was true, was correct, which was a greater than 100,000. Let's do another one down here, and this one's got two criteria. We're going to just add up the ones that are greater than or equal to 10 years, which is over here, if they've been working there for 10 years or more, and if they make less than 60,000. So let's do the insert function again, and instead of SUMIF, we've got two if statements, so we're going to do SUMIFs. If it's not right here, then type it in up here and it will show up. So double click on that. Okay, our sum range is the same one that we used before. So C4 through C33. And then our criteria range is a little different. So that's D4 through D33 because this is our criteria. We're going to sum up these numbers, but only if the criteria, which is these numbers, is greater than 10. So that's kind of tricky there. But if the criteria, and here's our criteria 1, so our first criteria, which it states down here, is greater than or equal to 10 years. So greater than or equal to, so equals, greater than, equals to 10 years. So just type 10 because it's our criteria range are these numbers right here. So anything above 10 or 10, it's going to add up. Okay, now we've got something else, some other criteria. So our second criteria range is this again. And then our second criteria is if it's less than 60,000. So less than 6 and then 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. Less than 60,000. So click OK and it adds that up. Two criteria now. So it's greater than or equal to 10 years, and it's less than $60,000. And then it adds all those salaries up. So that is pretty complicated, but it's programming, really. It's telling the computer what to do, what to look for. If it's a certain situation, then add it up, but if it's not, then don't add it. So pretty interesting. I think that's all. Yep, save this one and move on to the next.